Right, the next part in our process is to install the heatsink over the processor. The heatsink is designed to dissipate the heat produced by the processor so that you don't burn up the processor while you're using your computer. So it's very, very important that this is installed correctly to protect your processor from getting damaged during normal use. So we're going to go ahead and show you our heatsink here. So here's what the heatsink looks like. So we want to make sure that we install this properly, so we're going to show you how to do that exactly. The first thing you need to know is there's specific holes on the motherboard that they need to fit into. As you can see, there's actually two different sets of holes here by the processor. One has a gray circle around it, and the other one is right next to it that's just open. We want to make sure that we put the pegs for the heatsink into the gray circles. The next thing you want to do is you want to make sure on the heatsink that all these pegs, I don't know if you can see here on the arrow, you want to make sure that this is turned as far counterclockwise or to the right as it can be. So we want to make sure these are correct. This one's not, so we're going to turn it to make sure that it is. And turn this one as well. So those should all be correct now. The next thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you're positioning the heatsink correctly so that you can plug this fan connection into the motherboard. For this particular motherboard, our fan connection is all the way up here on the top. This 4-pin connector. You see that there? It says CPU fan. That's where we're going to need to plug it into. So we want to make sure that we install this the right way so that we have some space to actually plug this in. So I'm going to install it this way so that it fits. If you guys have the same exact processor, the Intel is actually facing me, the wording on the top. Your sticker may be a little different, but just before you install it down, make sure that you got enough cable to install the fan. The next thing you need to do is just make sure you line up the heatsink with those holes. And make sure they're in the right ones. And after I make sure of that, the next thing I'm going to do is just push down on each of these pegs. And it should lock it right into place. You don't need to worry about feeling like you're about to break something because it should go in pretty easy. There we have it. We have the heatsink installed. It's secured down. And then we can just quickly plug in our fan while we're here. It's just a 4-pin connection. Make sure that there's these little grooves on it. So we can get you a good shot of that. You see the little grooves on that side? We want to make sure that matches up with the little lock button on this fan switch. And just push it into place. So there's one correct way for that to install on the fan connection. And so if you try to do it the other way, it won't actually go in. There's a good shot of those little grooves I was talking about. There's a little black clip that goes in between those to make sure you install it properly. So there we have it. There's our heatsink. It's in place, and we're ready to move on to the next step of the process.